When we bought the house in rural Vermont, everyone kept talking about the attic as if it were something special, solid and well-built, the kind of space people trust without ever really questioning it. And although I had no plans to use it, I remember lying in bed on our first night and feeling strangely aware of the ceiling above me, as if the space overhead was closer than it should have been. The house was old, quiet, and surrounded by trees, and once the lights were off and the night settled in, every sound felt louder than it should, every creak stretching longer in the silence. Just after midnight, I heard the first sound. Not a sharp creak or pop, but a slow, deep groan, the kind you feel more than hear, as if the house itself were adjusting to a new and unfamiliar weight. I told myself it was nothing, because old houses settle and beams shift, especially in cold weather. But the sound returned the next night, and the night after that, always at the same time, always directly above our bedroom, and always lasting long enough to keep me awake. What bothered me most was that it never sounded like movement, but like pressure, steady and deliberate, as if something heavy was resting above us and slowly testing how much the house could hold. After several nights of broken sleep, I climbed into the attic during the day, expecting to find loose boards or signs of animals, but the space was empty and still, with thick beams running the length of the house and dust undisturbed across the floor. That was when I noticed the main beam above our bedroom was slightly bent, not cracked or broken, but curved in a way that suggested long-term strain, as if it had been carrying something far heavier than it was meant to support. That night, the pressure returned stronger than before, and sometime after midnight, a thin crack appeared across the bedroom ceiling, spreading slowly beneath the paint. And in that moment, I realized the sound was not caused by movement at all. It was caused by something staying perfectly still. The next morning, I went back up with a torch, my hands shaking more than I wanted to admit. And as I swept the light across the attic floor, I stood there longer than I should have, telling myself the shape in the dust was only a coincidence, a trick of light and old wood. Then I noticed how precise it was. The outline was exact, the shoulders broad, the arms resting slightly away from the body, the legs straight and close together, as if someone had carefully chosen that position and never changed it. When I stepped closer, the beam above me groaned in response, slow and heavy, as though it were already under strain and adjusting to even more weight. That was when it occurred to me that the sound I heard every night was not movement at all. It was breathing. Not the sound of air, but the quiet, patient pressure of something resting, settling deeper, learning how much the house would allow. We moved out quietly within weeks, telling people the house felt wrong in ways we could not explain, and it sold quickly to another family who admired the attic just as much as we once had. Months later, during winter, I drove past the house out of habit, and while everything looked normal at first glance, I noticed the roofline above the bedroom had dipped just slightly, enough to suggest that whatever had been resting there was still pressing down, patiently, slowly, learning how deep it could sink. The house was newly built in a quiet Oregon suburb, clean and modern, with perfect corners and fresh paint, which is why it felt strange when I noticed a faint square outline in the hallway ceiling that did not match the attic access in the garage. At first, I assumed it was a construction patch, something harmless. But one morning I woke up to find the square panel slightly open, just enough to let darkness spill into the hallway, along with a draft of cold air that smelled damp, like soil after heavy rain. I closed it and tried not to think about it, but soon after, I began hearing soft, dragging sounds above the ceiling during the day. Slow movements that traveled from room to room and always stopped the moment I tried to focus on them. What unsettled me most was how the sounds seemed to follow us, lingering above the rooms we used the most, as if something overhead was paying attention. When I checked the house blueprints, the small hatch was not listed anywhere, and after days of hesitation, I climbed up and opened it on purpose, expecting insulation or beams, but instead finding a narrow wooden passage running through the upper structure of the house. The boards inside were smooth and worn, and halfway down, I noticed dark handprints pressed upward into the wood, fingers spread wide, as if someone had been pushing from below again and again. For a moment, I convinced myself the handprints were old, left behind during construction, even though I already knew that explanation made no sense. They were too clear. I was still staring at them when I became aware of the sound behind me. Breathing. Slow, wet, and uneven. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of it on the back of my neck. I remember thinking that if I turned around, whatever was standing there would stop pretending it was hidden. So I didn't move. We sealed the hatch shut that same day with screws, filler, and paint. But the sounds did not stop. They only shifted, moving above different rooms, as if whatever lived inside the ceiling was learning our habits. We left the house without finishing the sale, and months later, I heard the new owners installed recessed lighting in the hallway. But sometimes the lights flicker, and when they do, they say it looks like something is moving just above the ceiling, searching for the door that used to be there. In Louisiana, people say houses are built to breathe. And when we bought our raised home near Baton Rouge, the tall attic designed to trap heat felt like a normal part of life in the South, even though the space made me uncomfortable from the very first time I climbed into it. It wasn't fear exactly, just a quiet awareness, the kind that settles in your chest when a place feels too warm, too still, as if the air itself is holding something back. The attic was large enough to walk around in, filled with old furniture left behind by the previous owners, including a wooden rocking chair with worn arms and a small child's bed frame without a mattress, its metal sides slightly bent, as if someone had climbed out of it in a hurry and never returned. No matter the season, the air up there felt thick and warm, even in winter, even early in the morning, as if summer never truly left that room, as if the heat had learned the shape of the attic and decided to stay. Not long after we moved in, I began hearing a woman humming softly in the afternoons. A slow, looping tune that didn't sound happy or sad, just unfinished, drifting down through the vents while I washed dishes or folded laundry, and disappearing the moment I stopped to listen for it. I mentioned it once, casually, and my husband said he hadn't heard anything at all, so I told myself it was the house settling, or maybe my own voice echoing back through the vents in a strange way. But the humming kept returning, always at the same time of day, always just loud enough to notice, and never loud enough to follow. One afternoon, while carrying a box up to the attic, I noticed something in the dust near the old bed frame. Small, barefoot footprints pressed lightly into the floor, leading away from the bed and toward the stairs. They stopped halfway down. I stood there longer than I should have, telling myself they were old marks, left behind before the dust settled, even though I already knew that explanation didn't make sense. After that, the humming grew closer, not louder, but nearer, as if it no longer needed to travel through the vents to reach me. The attic itself began to feel occupied, not in the way people usually describe haunted places, but in the way a room feels when someone has just stepped out of it, still warm, still stirred, still aware. When I finally climbed the attic stairs to confront whatever was causing it, I paused at the top, telling myself the heat was making me imagine things, that southern summers do strange things to your head, that houses don't remember people. The room looked different. The furniture was no longer scattered, but neatly arranged. The rocking chair facing the window, the bed frame centered against the far wall. A mattress rested on it now. The sheets were old, yellowed with age, but clean. And as I watched, they rose slowly, then fell again, in a steady rhythm that had nothing to do with heat or air. But the house grew warmer every day, the air heavier, the walls holding heat long after sunset, as if the attic were slowly teaching the rest of the house how to feel like summer. Sometimes at night, when everything is quiet and the fans are running, I hear the rocking chair moving slowly above us, back and forth, steady and patient, as if the house is getting ready and deciding which room will feel like summer next.